Hello, welcome back to my channel. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more updates and like my videos. In the last update about Once There Was a King, Gayatri gives birth to a baby girl and she takes her baby to war to fight against Grandma and Kaal. Let's continue. Kaal boasted about his power. Then suddenly he was struck by an arrow on his chest near the shoulder. Gayatri enters with a sword in her hand. Kaal pulls the arrow out of his body. Grandma was shocked to see Gayatri there. She calls when the lion left the forest. His mother gave place to dogs in the palace. He has no place in this palace. Kaal says an arrow could not ruin anything of him. She is stupid as she has been surrounded by his armed men. Grandma urges Kaal to kill Gayatri. As the prey came to him by herself, he takes his sword to Gayatri. His vision was blood because of being drunk. Gayatri laughs and asks him to look around. They all turn to look around. Kaal's men withdrew their arms. He walks towards Gayatri, who defends herself well from his sword and takes the attacking position. He was badly injured. Gayatri clutches his neck, recalling his attack on the king. She says she is the queen of Amarkot. She never betrays. The king's mother stopped Grandma by holding a sword on her neck. Grandma jacks the king's mother away. Kaal goes to grab her neck, blackmailing Gayatri. Gayatri was shocked. The king's mother insists on Gayatri not to stop and kill this monster. Gayatri heads towards Kaal. The prince moves from behind. The king's mother at once jacks Kaal away and grabs the fleeing Grandma and Rageshwari. The women come to chain Kaal. Gayatri gets towards the throne and takes a seat there. Grandma goes to get Gayatri's feet, apologizing, pleading with her not to kill her. Gayatri remembers how Grandma had cheered at the death of the king. She curtly accuses Grandma to be worse than a snake. Gayatri says that this earth will only get pure when it is fed by the blood of Grandma. She kicks Grandma away. She takes a gun and says that it is Amarkot's ritual to ask for the last wish before killing. But this is for humans. He is a fox who is only punished with love. Grandma had woken up and held the sword behind Gayatri. Raja requests Gayatri not to kill Kaal. Grandma attacks Gayatri with a sword, inserting it inside her. Gayatri fights back, attacking on Grandma's hand. The king's mother heads towards Gayatri. Kaal gets himself freed with a jack. Lakan comes inside and fights Kaal. Gayatri gives her daughter's responsibility to the king's mother. The king's mother takes the king's daughter inside. Kaal attacks Gayatri. The king's mother watches Gayatri breathe her last breath from upstairs, waving at the king's mother as Kaal also fell on the floor due to her attack. Raja's mother takes him away. Gayatri enters the palace while the king played piano for her. He assures Gayatri that his daughter will be the one of its kind princess. He peeked into the future to see their daughter do what he was unable to do. Grandma sends the prince behind the king's mother and the child. The king's mother pleaded to leave her as he get them in the forest. The prince says that this is not a normal child. She is the king and Gayatri's daughter and he has to end this. The king's mother stops him at once. Grandma cries for her injured hand. Prince comes into the room with blood-stained shirt. He gives Grandma the clothes of the child. Grandma calls him useless. The prince tells Grandma that he fed the pieces of their bodies to the wild animals. Grandma hysterically laughs and blesses the prince. The prince thinks of what the king's mother had said. Grandma always used him if he thinks that he will be able to sit on the throne in the presence of Grandma. The prince thinks that there were many chances, but Grandma herself sat on the throne. The second time, he got the throne to Abdesh, and thirdly, she preferred Kaal and not him. The prince had kept his sword down. The king's mother says that they both have lost their children. This child is the last identity of our king. Grandma never shed a tear on Lakshara's death. She only loves herself. The king's mother says that she loves family. He may take anything but leave this child alive. She promises to go far away from this place. The prince held the child up in his hand. The king's mother holds her up and appreciates the prince to be a Rajput. The prince wants her to go away from there to a place where she is unknown. The king's mother promised him to be dead to this world. She gives the child clothes to the prince, who urged them to leave. Lakan and the king's mother traveled at night. The king's mother calls her daughter-in-law as Gayatri. Lakan calls her Rani. Rageshwari and Kaal comes out. Kaal tells his first wife Amrita to give the puja towel to Rageshwari and she will sit with him in the puja. Rageshwari asks Kaal why he celebrates this trap on the same day for Gayatri. It has been 7 days. The British has left. Amarkot has changed and a lot more as well. Kaal tells Rajeshwari that the wild cow died there and then along with Gayatri and her daughter's sacrifice. As a human, he must do the puja for them at least. This is the difference between humans and animals. The children cheered for Rani, who got victorious in the game they played. Gayatri's daughter is now grown up and her name is Rani. Rani denied helping some boys. Her grandmother forbid her to go to the palace as a monster and a bitch stay there. The boys insisted that there is none, but Rani blindly trusted her grandmother and her father. The boys explains to Rani that the palace people have taken all their feed. Barju's father is sick and they must get it back. Rani calls it theft, but the boys explains to her that what if she has a bird and someone takes it from her? Then if she takes it back, is it a theft? She gives up. In the palace, the boy sends Rani inside as is the fastest runner. Rani was fascinated by the stock of grains and wonders if the monsters and the bitch eat so much. Rani was stealing the grains. A guard enters the storeroom questioning her. She throws the flour in his eyes and runs away. She prays to Himanin to save her. The boys run away. One of them awaits Rani. Rani heads towards the out gate when she hits the car of Grandma, considering her to be a bitch. The guards inform Grandma about Rani stealing grains from the garden of the palace. Grandma forwards a good hand towards Rani, but she had already fled. Rani forbids Balju to ask her to go to the palace again. She tells the boys that had she stolen for herself, it would have been a theft. She was only allowed to steal for Balju's father as he was sick. Rani turns to see the king's mother and Lakan eyeing her. The king's mother figured out that Rani did something wrong again. She always keeps her finger on her mouth to hide anything. One of the boys begins to cry. Rani explains that he is missing Ariral, his frog. The boy explains to the king's mother about Rani's help of Balju's father. She brought the grains for Balju's father from the palace. The king's mother was shocked and looks at Lakan. The king's mother holds her from the hair, scolding her to take her to the palace. In their home, the king's mother counts Rani's mistake. She confesses that she stole Hanuman's sweet in the morning as well. The king's mother was angry that Rani is stealing. Rani holds her ears, promising not to do anything of this act again, nor will she ever go to the Whitebeard beaches. The king's mother was worried at once, staring at Lakan. Rani tells the king's mother that the bitch has silver hair and gold hands. Lakan asks if she saw her. Rani denies. The king's mother wonders what if she recognized her. Lakan forbids the king's mother. The king's mother tells Rani that the monster lives in the palace. Rani promises never to go there again, asking the king's mother not to cry. In the palace, Kaal toasts Raja, holding him up. Raja shivered, afraid. Amrita comes there questioning Kaal. Grandma watches this. She assures Kaal that Raja will become like him. It takes time for a plant to turn to a tree. She asks Raja taking his responsibility. Kaal leaves. Grandma thinks that she must now take hold of Raja so that he kills his father when grown up. At night, the king's mother fills Rani with fresh bread. Rani asks to continue with the story. The king's mother forbids her to interfere and tells her the story between Ravan and Ram. Grandma tells Raja about Ravan taking revenge. She tells Raja that a real player turns his hatred to his strength. Rani asks the king's mother if Ram hated Ravan. The king's mother says no. A new one has to hate sin, not the sinner. Raja tells Grandma that he drinks milk to get the strength so that he can correct all the wrongs Kaal always do. Rani suggested that she would have to end the monsters of the palace when she grew up. The king's mother was worried and says that God is there for it all. Grandma teaches Kaal's son that he has the right to take revenge for all the wrongs done by anyone. Grandma calls Kaal's son Raja. The king's mother calls the king and Gayatri's daughter Rani. Thank you for watching my videos. Please don't forget to like my video and share it, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more updates. Thank you.